Welcome to the Deal by Me podcast, where we ask guests to tell us your story. Hello there, this is Dr. James W. Smith, your host. We seek to transform lives by encouraging and inspiring. Someone encouraged and inspired this host, a former lawyer, gambler, inmate, and his life was transformed. The same can happen to you. So when you listen to any of the Deal by Me podcasts, please support this podcast with a donation or a monthly recurring amount for as little as $3. If you're viewing any of the podcasts on YouTube, please subscribe. To supporters of this podcast, we say thank you. Check out my encouraging, inspiring, and transforming books. I'm available for speaking engagements, in person and virtual seminars. So please contact me through my website, www.dealbyme.com. I have with me Lydia Kimmerling, who is a renowned master life coach. She has dedicated thousands of hours transforming lives. Lydia's unique ability to cut through the noise uncovers what's truly holding one back, sparking profound, lifelong transformations. Featured across TV, the press, and live stages, she empowers one to embrace more freedom, joy, and authenticity. I am so very thrilled to have uh, Lilia come and share with us on this podcast. Lilia, will you share with listeners of this podcast a little bit about yourself and where you are located as the interview is taking place?
Yeah, thank you so much. Hello. So I am currently based in Ibiza, which is an island of Spain. It's part of Spain in Europe. I'm actually a Brit. I'm from London originally, but my journey, my path has kind of brought me here, and I also need the sunshine. You've given me a great introduction there, so there's not so much to add, but just overall.
Okay, well, that's great. My daughter and my two grands, we just had a chance to go across the waters about 3 weeks ago. Went to Paris with the grands, and so I like to talk to people who have come from across the waters, I call. And so it's good to have you on the podcast with us today. Listen, I tell you, I have read your profile and very interesting story. You know, what you've done and how you've gotten to where you are is just fantastic. So I want to just ask you a little bit about yourself because you talk about in your opening profile, you say, imagine waking up one day feeling like the universe has just dropped a secret on you.
Mhm.
And then you go on and say, that's exactly what happened when I had a mind blowing encounter with seven blue cloak beings who delivered a life changing message. That's a powerful statement. Can you talk about that just a little bit more?
I would love to. Yes. So to give a little context so that I don't sound completely crazy, um, I've been seeking a long, long time since I was 16 when I left home. I grew up in a Christian household, and I just felt that I needed to expand my idea of my own faith. And so really since 16, I've been seeking my truth. And fast forward to the end of 2022, I had a big crossroad moment. It wasn't the first. I think we go through them often, right? But I was aware that I'd created a really great life. I was living in my dream location, great business, but it was really hard. I was exhausted. I was burnt out. And it led me to very deep surrender. And I remember being at the back of my garden on my hands and knees and just fully handing my life over to something greater than me. I would say God, but I'm always a little cautious to say that because it holds so much
Hmm.
weight, right? But for
Hmm.
me, it was God. And I said, you can take everything I know about myself to be true. I just want to know what my true purpose is. And that was it.
Hmm.
Then after that, I experienced 10 days of absolute spiritual bliss. I was on cloud nine, not thinking. I let go of a lot of things, everyday life stuff. I cut back on my business. And from that point, the mystical really started to happen. I started to feel a lot of energy coming in every time I was meditating. And I had these, what I call activations or energy clearings, which were initiated by spirit. I was on my own, but I now understand I was clearing a lot of
Hmm.
stagnant energy blocks that were obviously a part of my kind of physical framework as well.
Hmm.
And one of those was uh, the most profound. And during this experience, I felt my hand was taken up and I was in a kind of an altered meditative state. And then seven blue beings appeared in front of me as if like it seemed like I was wearing, the gaming sort of masks. That's how it felt.
Okay.
And they said to me, Lydia, you're going to find out exactly who you are and why you're here. We're going to take care of you now, and your energy is your currency.
Mm. Mm.
Um, yeah.
Lily, so interesting. Was that your pivotal turning point? Is that when you really got to where you are now, or is it more to it that got you on the path that you are now? Is
I think there's been many pivotal moments,
okay, okay.
but that one is what's
That's what.
me to where I am today.
Okay, so that's really you would say that that was the point where you begin your life journey. Am I basically correct?
No, it's not where I began my life journey. No,
Okay,
that started at 16, leaving home on a
okay.
quest to find out who I am. This is just
Uh,
one of
okay,
them.
now I understand. I got you. Okay.
Yeah.
You because your story is just so interesting, I'm trying to unpack it so that
Yeah.
listeners will really have a good feel for you and your story. Then what do you think your upbringing has to do with your life path then? Talk about that a little bit.
So my upbringing was to teach me faith. Faith
Okay.
is the most powerful, one of the most powerful energies, along with love, obviously. And that was programmed into me for
Hmm.
sure at a young age. I just had to really connect to it to understand what it meant to me, but also to have that kind of, I resisted the quite strict upbringing that I had, but I needed that resistance because that's what made me leave so early to go and be so determined to go, no, what is the actual truth that I want to find out here? So,
Okay.
every time, usually our youth is our upbringing is the seed to why we are where we are. Hey.
You know, I am struck by your profile because you're the kind of person that I love having on my shows because you go through something, you're trying to find your path, and then you seem to find it.
Mhm.
And I hope that's not too strong of a word, but in the process of doing all of this, uh, tell us a little bit about your feelings. You know, how did you feel? Did you feel like you were kind of lost in the wilderness for a while? Did you feel as if, look, God is with me. I know I'm going to make it. Did you feel like, well, I'm just not sure where I am? What what were those feelings that you encountered in the process of your life journey?
All of them, all of
Okay, all
that.
right. Okay.
Depending on the day,
Uh-huh.
I think we're meant to feel it all. And there's the times where you feel completely lost and you don't know what you're doing and you think you're going crazy. And then there's the moment where you lock into something greater than yourself, and then motivation, hope, inspiration, excitement comes in, and your opportunities change and you feel like you've got direction. It's all kind of seasons, isn't it?
Mm.
But I'd say now, because of the very out there, wild, mystical experiences I've had, I will never disconnect from that source energy within ever again, because there's zero doubt in me
Mhm.
about the our spiritual life.
I love it. Reason I think I'm so in tune to where you're coming from, because I pastor. I was the pastor of a church for 32 years before retiring. I'm
Right.
now serving as an interim pastor at my home church. And your life story, the spirituality, I grew up in a Christian home myself. So I feel your life, I feel your story, and I know what you're talking about. I had to, I practiced law for some years, got into some trouble, and it was during that point that I had this really epiphany, I would say, that brought me to another space, and it got me where I was feeling much better. I knew where I was, I knew who I was, and sometimes we do have to get there. And I hear you. Before I ask you more questions, because listeners perhaps want to know this, what are you doing now? And then we will go back to talk a little bit more about how you got to where you are. What are you doing
Oh,
now?
so I'm uh, a master life coach. I've been doing that for 15 years. But
Okay.
what I do now is I've combined what happened as a result of all of these energetic clearings and activations was it opened up some gifts that were already there, but that I'd been resisting. And
Hmm.
those gifts are really being able to read energy and give energy healings, and also to be able to connect to consciousness. So I can channel and I can receive information about people or situations. So it expanded my intuitive ability. So I combine that with sessions, and ultimately, what I'm doing in session is always connecting you back to you, really, your
Hmm.
true self, helping you heal that relationship you have with yourself. Because when that is good, you will feel the deep connection to what's greater than you, to God, to
Okay.
source, to the universe.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, well said. I get that. Then listening to what you are saying, what is the most powerful energy for manifesting? And I guess how can someone learn to surrender? Uh,
Yeah.
am I making sense?
Oh, yes, this is one of my favorite topics.
Okay,
So
okay.
the most powerful energy for manifesting is love, because everything has been manifested through love. The creation of this planet, us, universe, everything came through love and through power.
Hmm.
But essentially, it's a power that is a seed of love, not maybe the power we see necessarily in our world. And then, so what that means practically is love your life into creation. And that would then move into gratitude, to express your love for whatever it is you're experiencing, even when it's not the manifestation, you're not there yet. Deepen
Mhm.
into gratitude. And then
Okay.
accompany that with faith, because faith is the energy that goes out and does the work for you. When you really embody that, you don't have to be efforting all the time.
Hmm.
Faith as an energy will go out, it will do the work for you and align it and bring it back to you.
Wow. You are just awesome. I I don't know what to really say. But knowing what my podcast is about, encouraging, inspiring, and transforming,
Mhm.
and having listened to your story, you are saying so much just great stuff that's powerful. If someone listening to this podcast is feeling stuck, feeling abandoned, you know, left home, you know, don't quite know where they're going to go,
Mm.
not sure where they are in life, what would you say to them that's going to be encouraging, that's will hopefully be inspiring and maybe just transforming for them? Do you have a word that you could share?
Absolutely. First of all, I've been there, and so I want you to know that I'm sorry for what you're going through. I know it feels really scary and you feel alone, but
Hmm.
you're not alone. And I want for you to come back into yourself and allow yourself to hand this problem over, because when we feel stuck, we carry the problem and it feels so big that you're trying to figure everything out. and
Hmm.
and when it feels hopeless, that's really tough. That when you choose to surrender, which doesn't mean giving up, it means getting out of the way. What if you don't have to solve this? What if there is a greater plan for you? And I promise you, when you step out of the mind where the fear is and you really come into your heart, which you can just do with just putting your hands on your heart, take 2 deep breaths and say, okay, I hand it over, that life will organize itself to move you forward. And there's something so much bigger
Hmm.
happening for you right now than what you can see in this moment.
Wow. Listeners, I hope you're taking this in. Very, very good information that Lydia is sharing with us today. I'm just so excited to just have someone to come and pour out their life and how they got to where they are, and especially when they share this spiritual connection, because as a minister myself, I do know what that can do for an individual when they can grasp hold of faith. Is very important. Lillian, what do you believe God is? You talked about it. You sit here and we've talked about how you got to where you are. What do you believe God is?
Mm. For me, God is the energy of creation. And it's not, it's actually masculine and feminine.
Mhm.
It's not just, it's masculine as we are often kind of told. It's the energy that created everything. And we are of that energy. We're actually in this experience living as that energy experiencing itself. And
Okay.
um, and it
Okay.
and it really wants the best
I love
for
that.
you.
I love that. I love that. Listeners, got a couple more questions I want to ask of Lilia. So please don't go to place. This is a great conversation today. But let me first of all ask Lilia, how can listeners get more information on you? You have a podcast? Do you have a website? Have you written a book? Do you have blogs or anything of that nature that you could share with listeners at this time?
Yeah, I'd love to connect with your listeners. So if anything's spoken to you today, guys, then come say hi. I'm on Instagram. My Instagram handle is Lydia Kimmerling. So just my full name. Come say hi. And my website is thehappinessexplorer.com. So I have a podcast. It's called Closer to Source. You can find all the episodes on my website. And yeah, say hi.
Okay, thank you so very much, listeners. I know you have that information, so please check her out. You will really be glad that you did. Lily, let me ask you one or two more questions, and then I will let you go. I don't want to let you go. You know that because you have such great information. Uh, why is inner wealth and inner success so important?
We as society teaches that success and wealth are things that we need to strive for, often in the Western world. And I've been doing this long enough to know that it's not what makes you truly happy.
Hmm,
And it will never be enough. You'll never get enough wealth. You'll never have enough success if your inner wealth and your inner success isn't full, isn't complete. So really working on that relationship with yourself, first of all. And then when you feel full, when you feel complete from the inside, you see that mirrored and reflected in everything that you have and everything you do.
hmm. Wow. Well said. Well said. I'm grateful to just hear you talking in this way. It's amazing. Why is meditation so important?
When you want to start on this path, so let's say, what we've been talking about is feeling stuck and you don't have the answers necessarily, the place that you can find them is within yourself. So just start meditating. And I know
Mm,
everyone says, but my mind's so crazy. I've got such a busy mind. Your mind's meant to be that way. If
mm,
it's not a bit crazy, then it's not working, right? That's how it's meant to be. But what you have to learn how to do is to separate yourself from the mind and to remember that you're the manager of your mind. You're not your mind.
mm.
And practicing meditation 5 minutes a day, just start there. That's how I started. And you'll start to create space and awareness. And once you do that, once you separate from the noise, you'll be able to receive more of what it is you really need to feel and see about your next path.
Wow. Awesome. Awesome. What is the key? This is my last question to you then. What is the key to feeling truly fulfilled? Because listening to you, I get the impression or this feeling that you're there. And I know, you would say, well, I still have some work to do. I'm not quite always where I like to be yet. But listening to you makes me feel that you're okay. So, what is the key to feeling that way?
Mm. Yeah, right now I'd say yeah, I have
Okay.
that knowledge and that feeling. And it's been a lot of work to truly arrive in it. The truth is that it's a healing journey
Mm,
and we all need to go on one because life is hard. And if you're here now to be on that path, to do the work, you have to activate a brave heart and you've got to look at your trauma, you've got to look at why you are the way you are, and you've got to be willing to be vulnerable to heal those parts of you. And through that healing, you you come back home to yourself, and it's a feeling of, ah, well,
mm.
everything's fine. I'm fine.
Wow. Wow. Lily, it has been a joy having you as a guest
Thank you.
today. And I want to tell you how much I do appreciate your sharing and really, I believe, a blessing to listeners. And again, thank you so very much. Thank
Thank
you
you.
so very much. And there you have it, Lilia Kimberlin sharing with us her story. And until next time, peace and blessings be with each of you.